Welcome to AI Horror Stories. Prepare to be chilled. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell for daily doses of AI-generated fright. History, consisting of 10 buildings surrounded by mushy, isolated meadows with dispersed creature like trees. The Joseph P. Ladd Center is situated on a portion of 331-acre land in Exeter, Rhode Island. It is comprised of a recreational center that houses a theater, bowling alleys, cafeterias, kitchens, locker rooms, basketball courts, and a swimming pool and a sub-basement, as well as a 6-story cylinder-shaped sanatorium equipped with a dental clinic, an X-ray clinic, padded cells, operating rooms and a morgue, dormitories, classroom buildings, a crematorium, a greenhouse, and a community building. Dr. Walter Fernald proclaimed in 1893 that the more meager-minded were those who would later become thieves, drunkards, and hobos. In 1908, the center was built as a farm settlement to support the psychologically handicapped. The program was similar to those in other states, housing patients in small cottage surroundings and allowing them to work in a pastoral setting where they did mostly small errand, farming, and manufactured clothing and household items. At this present stage, it was known as the Rhode Island School for the Feeble-Minded, as it housed those whom were regarded as mentally impeded and ones who failed to function in general in society. Cruel treatments like shock therapy, ice bath therapy, and lobotomies were carried out on the patients. In 1909, after the boys' dormitory ran full, a girls' dormitory was erected. The name was changed to the Exeter School in 1917 IN 1928, following a decade of high congested enrollment, low funding, and negligence. The school became a depot for society's refuse, and there were over 1,000 residents by the year 1980 until it was closed as a state establishment in 1993. Remedial pools were constructed in 1970 with donated funds. The school was webbed in a legal drama in 1986, and lawmakers tried to close it down following cases of child mistreatment, rape, etc. Inmates were treated like animals and several bodies were found in the sewer system. Because of this torture that the patients went through, it left behind a diseased ground that carries a lot of pain and hatred for those who find themselves walking upon it. The center formally closed its doors for the last time in 1993, and since then the place became a sanctuary for psychic investigators, and many bizarre phenomena has also since been reported and recorded. Many of these phenomena include specters on the outside ground, things that move by themselves, and photographic anomalies. There were plans made to have it knocked down and converted into the Exeter Research and Technology Park. Wonder if the Economic Development Corporation knows how haunted the place really is, and that newly erected buildings doesn't stop ghosts from going around doing their business. Hauntings, hauling on floors above people that enter the infirmary or hospital building. Low moaning sounds, breathing, and shuffling. These are all the sounds that can be heard throughout the building. The Ladd School has a very wretched ambience to it. Cold chills, thuds from above and below. Kids can be heard entering the building. On more than one occasion, investigators have observed the red metal holders for the fire extinguishers start to rattle and shake. People experience the hair on the back of their necks standing up. On more than one occasion, people had their cameras smacked out of their hands, and on one occasion one person had been thrown back about 5 to 6 feet while endeavoring to take a picture. People often get the feeling of being watched or followed in the infirmary and recreational center. Observable phenomena are orbs, streaks, and hazes of light. Car radios would mysteriously play even when turned off. Shadows would sneak up to you and disappear. Some doors will be locked on some nights and not on others, and it seems as if the buildings are toying around with their visitors. Outside on the grounds, long and skinny clouds moving really low on the ground and a lot faster than a normal cloud would. Unexplained noises like whispering, loud moans, knocking noises, the sound of someone hitting a hollow tree with a broomstick, a girl that sounds as if she's being raped, and a loud noise that sounds like an animal growling can be heard around the buildings and the surrounding woods. The presence of a non-living being can be felt as you drive by in your car, as well as things that sneak up to you and then suddenly disappear when you're on foot. In practically all instances, the spirits don't seem angry but afraid. On one occasion, a spirit scraped its nails into a person's back. Generally, repulsive feelings of doom surround this place. Leaves can be seen and heard as if people are walking through them. as people drive through their cars would suddenly cut out and refuse to start, but on investigating the problem, the cars would start up again out of the blue. Near the gate, investigators have witnesses a strange orange flashlight going down the road. On different occasions, investigators have seen a white hooded figure and a large shadow running through the woods. Feelings of slight terror would overcome visitors when they're on the premises. Fogarty Building. The hallways of the Fogarty Building twist in small curves and loops. Upon investigation, 2 paranormal investigators' flashlights turned off simultaneously. Footsteps and children's voices could be heard from the roof. An investigator wearing a necklace with a cross found her necklace broken off with the cross broken in half. The Howe Building. When entering the Howe Building, one gets an eerily edgy feeling of incitation. In this building there is a metal door that is the only locked door in any of the remaining buildings. One group that did research on the school, armed with skeleton keys, had in mind to open the door. On their endeavor to open the door, they realized that it did not have a locking mechanism. On the 2nd floor, people have heard a weird cooing whimper, and when they attempted to approach in that direction, it grew more powerful. The boys' dormitory. On each floor there are 2 large walls. The green and gray walls are tall and dungeon-like. The doors between the wards are that of bathrooms and closets. Downstairs is a room around the corner from the front door, furnished with imitation wood paneling with heavy doors. The air inside is heavy and old. The recreational building. The recreational building now houses the Exeter Job Corps Academy. The classrooms were on the lower level, as well as the administrative offices for the psychiatric and educational departments. On the upper level were the gymnasium and locker rooms, game room, theater, and bowling alley. Concerning the abandoned structures at LAD, certain qualities of a building was noteworthy in a sense that each building seemed to have its own personality and was possessed by its own characteristic phenomena. For example, the temperature was surprisingly cooler the closer you got to the locker rooms at the school. Sometimes voices can be heard at the entrance to the pools. The Higgins Building. This building is haunted by uncanny noises that always come from the level below and outside. This building seems to have a mind of its own and seems to move around. The Hospital Building Infirmary. The rooms in the basement are tiny, fuzzy chambers with flaking gray walls and concrete floors that creates an unpleasantly cold, claustrophobic, prison-like atmosphere. There seems to be an intense, stale odor of abandonment on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor, but it turns into the smell of a hospital on the 4th floor. The rooms here are still labeled with the names of their former occupants. In the morgue, noises of a little girl can be heard near the hallway, as well as the sound of heavy footsteps. The walls seem to be pounding like a faded heartbeat. In the basement, investigators confirmed to have felt a cold chill. One has the feeling of being watched. Clamorous banging noises always come from the 1st floor, and people allege to have heard something heave on the floor above them. A low moaning sound also haunts the basement. Blasts of wind can be felt, and noises of footsteps and shattering chains can be heard. In June, the American summer, during a paranormal investigation, it was so cold at the entrance of the hospital. The investigators had to put on jackets, and there seemed to be a presence that didn't want people there at all. An ethereal figure haunts the hall. Walls bleed. A horde of orbs were caught on film, as well as a peculiar dark figure. It was during one of the many investigations that a woman had her camera slapped out of her hand. When she picked it up, it was slapped from her hand again. One investigator's fully charged digital camera shut off entirely. The sound of doors slamming and a clattering chain can be heard here. A girl can also be heard screaming on several occasions. The 1st floor is equipped with padded cells and shock chairs. It is on this floor that a vase was flying at a girl's head that was part on an investigation team. Here they found blood and bodies of people that have died. On the 2nd floor, one can hear voices talking, things getting thrown, and people screaming for help and weeping. Here people have also experienced cold spots and rooms that would light up. On one occasion, a small fire was started as people approached the 3rd floor, and the metal holders of the fire extinguishers began to rattle and shake. The worst of all is the 3rd floor that welcomes you with a smell of death. It is recorded that people have actually disappeared from this floor out of the blue, and the scariest of all is that the exit seems to evaporate into nowhere. During the investigation of the group with the woman who had her camera slapped out of her hand twice, they heard a huge holler that they described as something that sounded like a piano being dragged across the floor and the sound of the chords echoing. They got so scared that they decided to leave the building right away. An investigation team of 20 entered the building, and only 2 left, with the rest never to be found again. The 4th floor is haunted by a woman in a black dress throwing a scalpel at people. A blue light also haunts the building, jumping around from place to place. Here is an extract from the Pawtucket Paranormal Society of Information following a day trip to the center with their team leader Dawn. As we got close to the place, I began to feel a strange, nasty feeling settling in my gut. I cannot say that I knew straight away this place was causing it, but I had a feeling. We drove on to the property and the feeling grew much stronger, like there was a veil we passed through. We began to pass old, dilapidated, boarded-up buildings when a wave of sadness washed over me. I began to feel the hatred that seeped from the very ground we drove on. We stopped a few times so I could take pictures of the buildings when I began to hear the whispering of many voices, all young and seeming to plead for mercy. When we came to the last place that was built on the property, called the Fogarty Building, built in 1970, I knew it was here that felt the most like all the bad pooled in one place. The whispers grew stronger. They wanted to be released from the hell that bounded them. We came to what was left of one of the playgrounds on the place. All that remained was a rusted, twisted swing set with 1 swing remaining. Dawn didn't want to get out of the car because she stated to me later that she had the feeling of being watched. When I got close to the swing set, I heard a young girl, 7 or 8, asking me to follow her. I approached the swing. I had to feel it. I had to know how many sad souls sat upon it. When I got close to it, I heard the child say, "Mine, mine, mine." I proceeded and touched it. Well, when I did, I immediately felt pain go up my right side and across my chest. Felt like I was being burned. The place is a tumor on the face of the earth and a blemish in history. Let sleeping dogs lie if you get the meaning. And if you don't heed this warning, be advised you may bring something back with you that you don't like.